Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Battle Red Radio, your go-to source for all things sports. I'm Kaden Jones, and I'm here with Kobe Riendo. He's going to be co-hosting with me today. We've got an exciting show covering everything from the latest sports news. Also, don't forget to follow UHDI Radio on Instagram at UHDI Radio. And if you want to interact with us on the Radio FX app, make sure you use the chat button. Just press go, hit the chat button. We'll be reading those throughout the show, maybe answering questions at the very end. I think we're just going to go ahead and get the show started today. And we got some tragic news that happened earlier. I think it happened yesterday afternoon. Greg Popovich was announced to be out for the season. At 76 years old, Greg Popovich is out for the season after suffering a stroke in November. He hasn't been with the Spurs all season because there's been an interim head coach with, I believe, was Mitch Johnson was the interim head coach. The NBA's all-time wins leader expressed his focus on his health and possible future return while praising the interim head coach. Like I said, Pop has not been with the Spurs all season at any practices since his stroke. This is very disappointing, especially following that Wemby is also out for the season. It seems like it can't get much worse for Spurs fans.
I think it is actually a blessing in disguise because they were going to be a playoff team this year probably, or maybe a play-in team, but their picks wouldn't have been great. Buddy, no Pop all rest of the year and no Wemby all rest of the year. They're setting themselves up for a Cooper flag run. I'm being so for real. It seemed like a joke last time, but, it's a real possibility now, and that is dangerous.
Yeah, last time me and you talked about the Wemby out for the season injury, we also speculated. You brought up, how long do you think Popovich is going to be with the Spurs? I said maybe 3 years. And then after this news broke that he was going to be out, I realized that he has a contract going until 27 to 28 season. But this news does not make me feel positive on my stance that he's going to be back for another 3 years. He said that he wants to come back for future seasons. I don't know how true or how possible that is. I think his health at 76 years old is not declining, but maybe it is starting to become a bit of a concern for him. Do you still stand on what you said? He's not going to be around for that much longer?
Yeah, so I actually want to paraphrase that a little bit. He's not going to be the head coach. I wouldn't be surprised if this is his last season. They just buy out his contract, give him a good chunk of change, and then let him be an advisor role, all right, for the team. Or maybe even just being an assistant head coach that isn't with the team all the time. That at 76, that's a great role for Pop because it doesn't make him be the main guy, but it lets him have enough influence and say in the game plans and stuff like that to where you're not losing his value,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, especially if you have an advisor that has 5 NBA championships, an Olympic gold medal.
And he's the all-time wins leader.
I mean, this might be the greatest advisor that I've ever seen. You might need to put him a Hall of Famer as an advisor.
Yeah, whenever the Pacers were really good with PG and Roy Hibbert, all those mid-2010s years, who was their key advisor? Larry Bird.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's precedence for this stuff happening where you have a legendary player or coach who's not going to be there all the time, but will be there to guide things. Perfect role for Pop right now.
Yeah, and I know for the Rockets, Hakeem Olajuwon is probably our main advisor. That's why Şengün is real good. We've always had decently good bigs. Christian Wood had a really good season when he was with us for that one season. Dwight Howard, obviously. Yao Ming. Clint Capella was exactly Clint Capella. You haven't heard Clint Capella's name that much. He went to the Hawks right after us, and then what else? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So advising role would be big. I mean, I would like to see Pop in that role.
Yeah, and I don't want to see him out of the league for sure because obviously his health goes first. If he needs to step away to get that right, that's what matters. But if he can come back, even if it's as an advisor or literally just once a month they give him a call to see what he thinks about the team and, the future, that's, Popovich is good for the league for sure.
Yeah, especially because... Well, he makes a lot of the decisions for the Spurs organization. He might act as a GM role to some sorts. So that is a big decision for them to make as an organization as well. Overall, it's sad to see. Wish nothing but the best for Pop.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's a legend right there. That's up there with Bill Belichick. That's a GOAT.
Yeah, he's on the Mount Rushmore of Phil Jackson, all those kind of guys. You know what I'm saying?
He's
up there.
absolutely Mike Krzyzewski. If we're talking all coaches, give me Mike Krzyzewski on that Mount Rushmore. There's a bunch of dudes, but Pop is definitely on the Mount Rushmore of all-time basketball coaches.
Undisputed, yeah. We're going to move on. This week was supposed to be a huge week for franchise tags, and I was expecting a lot more to come in before we came into the studio today. However, I think there's only been one, and the first team to do it was the, I guess, Super Bowl champion runner-ups, Kansas City Chiefs. They franchise tagged Trey Smith, who was one of their guards last season. The Chiefs struggled to protect quarterback Patrick Mahomes in 2024, and they were in no mood to let a young, talented lineman such as 25-year-old Trey Smith get away. Despite concerns about a blood clot disorder in college, Smith has been a very durable player, starting 80 of possible 81 regular season games and playoff games since joining the Chiefs in 2021.
So first off, I don't think there's going to be that many franchise tags because like the franchise tag is just getting really expensive for a lot of positions. Like for example, this franchise tag for Trey Smith is a 1-year, $23.4 million fully guaranteed contract. And guard is not even that crazy high of a position paid, right? If it was a tackle or an edge rusher or a quarterback, that number gets into the $30 and $40 million range. So I don't know if there will be that many. There's also just not that many like high level dudes that are like T. Higgins is another option, but I feel like him and the Bengals are going to get a contract signed. But yeah, this is big for the Chiefs because it gives them the opportunity to like work out a long-term deal.
Yeah, that's exactly why I think they did it. It gives them that chance to work out the long-term deal. It also, because maybe Travis Kelce might try to go play another season. So maybe get through that cap that Travis Kelce has. I think it's like a $17 million cap.
Yep.
Once they get through that, they can give him that contract. It'll go into effect the next season. I feel like that's a great idea. This is a good move. Obviously, the Kansas City Chiefs don't really ever make terrible moves at all.
Yeah, via the Pat McAfee show, Travis Kelce today pretty much confirmed he's coming back this year. He was not happy with his Super Bowl performance, and to me, he just wants a retirement show. Like he wants to go on a retirement tour because that's the kind of dude Travis Kelce is to me. But also, maybe he just wants to play football. Maybe I'm just looking at it cynically. But they need to sign Trey Smith to a long-term deal because he's like a top 6 guard in the league, top 10 easily. Around top 6, top 5 area, and you need that type of protection for Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, especially because in the Super Bowl, there was a lot of that pressure being put up through the middle. A lot of it. Those D tackles really made a name for themselves in the Super Bowl because of it.
Yeah.
This is huge. Creed Humphrey, Joe Tooney, and now Trey Smith, they're locked up for a little bit, at least the next season, obviously.
Yeah, Creed Humphrey's also a stud, man.
He's due to get a check very soon, I think. I think next season he might be due for an extension.
Yeah, this is the problem with whenever you're a good team, bro. You have a lot of good players, and most of them are often young, and you got to pay those guys eventually.
Well, you can always, if you're a good team, you can always let them go because they draft very well.
Yeah, the Chiefs do draft pretty well.
All right. We're going to go ahead and move on to one of your segments. You want to talk about PGA. I'm going to let you kind of take it over a little bit.
Here we go. So, we're in like this 8th or 9th week of the PGA Tour now. All right, we're going into the Florida kick of the tour. So we got like 4 tournaments in a row that are in Florida. This is the first one. It's called the Cognizant Classic. It was the Honda Classic a couple years ago. It rebranded this year to the Cognizant. It's at PGA National down in Palm Springs in Florida. And, man, today, Jake Knapp, I told y'all to watch out for him last week. I was just 1 week early on the call. Man, he shot a course record at PGA National, 59, 12 under par. And that sounds insane because it is. That's only the 15th under 60 score in PGA Tour history. 15th. So that's an all-time performance right there. There is a little bit of context that needs to be added. The course is playing really, really easy this week. They got really soft fairways because it rained like literally yesterday. So the fairways are not very bouncy. He's a very pure swinger, so he's going to put the ball where he wants it, and it's going to land, and it's going to stay where he wants it. The roughs, they just cut them like Tuesday or Wednesday, so they're super short compared to average, PGA Tour roughs. So even if you do swing a ball out in the rough, you're not getting penalized much for it.
Wait, hold on. They don't mow the roughs very often? Or like, are you talking about like?
So normal, like last week, the rough was super long. Like if you dropped your ball, you couldn't find it. You had to stand over the ball to see it. This week, the roughs are a lot shorter. So if you do swing into the rough, it's not as bad.
Yeah, okay.
So that's helping a lot. And this is just, a mess up by the grounds crew. They overseeded the greens. So it's super easy to read because, it's flat ground. It's not a lot of bumps, not a lot of hills. It's super flat. And the greens are really receptive because of that. It's not very hard greens. So your approach shots are bouncing and they're landing. They're not going to roll a lot because the greens are super receptive because they overseeded it, right? And on top of all that, there was no wind this morning. He teed off at like 7:30 and the flags were like laying flat. And yeah, he shot a -12, man. Just ridiculous. The second best score, also to provide a little bit of context, -8. So he shot 4 shots better than the 3 people who were tied as second. 12 birdies, no bogeys. Just an insane day, man.
Yeah. It seems like everything just went right there, to be honest with you. And that's what your conclusion is also?
Dude, I mean, he was 16 out of 18 for fairways hit. He was 15 out of 18 for greens in regulation, which is like on your second on a par 4, third on a par 5. And yeah, he was on fire today, man. The real fire tournament, whenever we get all the big players back next week, we're at the Arnold Palmer Invitational. So that's going to be a juicer. But all eyes are on Jake Knapp right now because he's lighting it up, bro.
Who's to look out for at the Arnold Palmer Invitational?
I mean, all the big guys. You got Scotty. Rory's going to be there.
Everybody's going to be there.
Yeah, Jordan Spieth. All the big names.
Okay.
I mean, all the PGA big names, obviously.
Yeah.
And hopefully, man, fingers crossed, we can get a LIV and PGA deal done soon. So
that'll be cool.
Yeah.
That'll be real cool.
This is a verbatim quote. The PGA and LIV deal could be more difficult to figure out than the Russia and Ukraine deal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's the
that
verbatim
bad?
quote. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's what we're dealing with. But if we can get it to work, man, I just want to see Bryson DeChambeau back on the tour, dude.
That'd be cool, yeah.
Goodness gracious.
That'd be real cool.
Yeah, John Rahm. There's a lot of dudes in PGA that I just want to see back on the tour, dude. Because the tour has the Masters. It has TPC Sawgrass. It has Waste Management. It got Pebble. It has all the great courses, dude. And we just can't see all those great players play on them.
But LIV has the money.
LIV has the money, and they got all the Saudi Arabian courses. So
yeah.
There's a lot of juice out there.
Something interesting also happened earlier this morning, involving a Starbucks.
Yeah.
Ian Rappaport got into a cat fight with Jordan Schultz. If you don't know who these two guys are, these are both insiders for the NFL. These guys are usually Twitter fighting because they need to break the story first. And prior to the NFL Combine today, reports came out that Matthew Stafford and Tom Brady were meeting at a ski resort in Wyoming. The question on everybody's mind about this was that, well, including Jordan Schultz and Ian Rappaport, they also questioned this. Was this meeting a planned meeting between, the Las Vegas Raiders president and, potential trade target in Matthew Stafford? Or is the Wyoming ski resorts really that good? Are they really that good? Everybody's just meeting up there?
Look, I think this is 100%. No, not 100%. It's I don't have enough evidence. Okay, I think it's like a 70-30, 75-25. These guys plan to meet in Wyoming, bro. There's 80,000. Okay, I'm shorting it, but hyperbole. There's 80,000 people in Wyoming.
Yeah, 2 small towns or something.
Yeah, and you're telling me that Tom Brady and Matthew Stafford happen to go to the same ski resort at the same time in Wyoming? I don't know, man. Jordan Schultz, he kind of had the same idea. He reported that, quote, Raiders owner Tom Brady recently hosted Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford at his home in Montana, where they spent time together and went skiing. Brady has been actively trying to convince Stafford to join the Raiders, and discussions are ongoing. And reports are that the Raiders are the most aggressive team trying to trade for Stafford.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Just about the whole Matthew Stafford thing, we can get to that in a second, but Ian Rappaport and Jordan Schultz did get into a real big cat fight over this. There was a lot of Twitter drama going on about them fighting at a Starbucks. Thought it was just pretty funny.
Yeah, they
Thought it
like
was really
they started going like because the thing is Jordan Schultz reported that, and then Rappaport was like, well, actually, they just happened to meet there, and there was no tampering or talk about trade going on, and they went. Jordan Schultz responded to that with like a ghost tweet, didn't at Rappaport, and then they saw each other this morning in Indianapolis Starbucks and got in each other's faces, started cussing at each other, over who's right and who's wrong about a hockey ski or a ski resort post.
Insane.
That's fire. And if you don't know, Rappaport's like 5'8".
Yeah.
and it's just imagine that little man.
I mean, Ian Rappaport is a feisty guy. That's a feisty dude.
Yeah. To add a little irony to it all, Jordan Schultz is the son of former CEO, Starbucks CEO Howard Schultz. So
really, I did not know that.
yeah,
actually,
it happened at his dad's, former ownership place.
Yeah.
Place his dad used to own. It's just funny.
It's just funny. Now it's overall funny, but this kind of like, I mean, I don't know why the Starbucks controversy kind of overshadowed the fact that Tom Brady was meeting Matthew Stafford.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Because I think this is a big deal. There are multiple teams that have came out in discussions saying, like, in media have said, like, hey, we want Matthew Stafford bad.
Yeah.
Like, we want Matthew Stafford real bad.
And the Raiders haven't been one of those teams that came out, right? Am I
No,
crazy?
like, I haven't seen that either. That's why it was kind of like a bit of a surprise that, he was seen with Tom Brady.
Yeah.
One of the main teams that I've really been seeing a lot of is the Giants are saying, hey, we want Matthew Stafford before we want Shadur or before we want Cam Ward or
That's
Sam
what I've
Darnold.
been seeing too.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was interesting to me.
I think there's definitely something there. Like Rappaport is definitely covering up for Tom Brady and the Raiders org.
100%.
Like that is planned. There's conversations there trying to get Matthew Stafford to want to be a Raider.
Yeah, and I'm here for it. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's just, every single time I hear that these AFC West teams are really trying to compete, it confuses me. It really does because if I'm doing a rebuild, it doesn't make sense for me to be an AFC West team with the Chiefs in my division, and now the Broncos are in my division with a young Bo Nix, and the Chargers in my division with a young Justin Herbert to want to go get an old Matthew Stafford. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I mean, it'd be cool. Obviously, it'd be cool because you get to beat those teams and see if you are better than those teams. And the Raiders haven't been good for a long time since 2014. Derek Carr had an MVP season.
Yeah, shout out Derek Carr for that
Shout
one
out
year.
Derek Carr.
The thing is though, I kind of respect him for it. Like, if you continually cannot draft a quarterback, why not go get a dude who can do the job and then try and build around that? I kind of respect it.
Have they not been able to draft a quarterback? They drafted Derek Carr late. He was not a first round pick.
And then they've just been kind of not able to draft one because they've been
Yeah.
out of the range to get one. And I don't think they're going to get one this year.
Yeah, I mean, they could. They could get Shadur this year. That's the thing. Or they could trade up. But, I agree with you. Matthew Stafford on the market is the best option. He's better than Sam Darnold, for sure. He'd be, I don't know about cheaper, but he'd be on a shorter deal, which means it can maybe just be a cheaper overall deal. And he's just better than Sam Darnold. Aaron Rodgers, we've talked about him way too many times on the show. I don't think he's going to have a job.
Yeah, I've lost my... I used to like Aaron Rodgers a little bit. And we've talked about him 8 shows in a row, and then I'm like, okay, I'm out of here, bro. I don't care. I've lost it for Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know. It's interesting because, like I said, Matthew Stafford is easily the best guy in here, and the Rams also did an interesting move. They came out and said that they're okay with Jimmy Garoppolo being their starting quarterback. That's insane to me.
Yeah.
What has Jimmy Garoppolo showed anyone in the NFL as of recent that he should be a reliable starter? I don't understand why. What is there? They have to just be.
Hey, I'm going to play devil's advocate. What did Sam Darnold show before this year?
He won 14 games last season.
No, before this year, where he did start. He was a bum for the Jets, and then he was backup, went to the Rams, or went to the 49ers, was a backup, and then he went to the Vikings and then started and then won 14 games.
Yeah, he wasn't supposed to be a starter, though. That's what I'm saying. That's why I kind of like the Sam Darnold signing, because it was only a $10 million contract or $14 million contract. He was just supposed to be a little bit of a mentor for J.J. McCarthy, and J.J. McCarthy obviously ended up getting hurt.
But who's to say Jimmy G can't have another bounce back,
I'm saying that.
You probably would have said the same thing about Sam Darnold before he started this season.
Listen, because I actually was not saying that before the season because Kyle Shanahan probably did wonders on him, and because what did we know about Sam Darnold before he did that? Like he was in New York with the Jets. Like everybody,
he was a bad quarterback.
He was a bad quarterback. It was also a terrible team. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I don't know.
I can't believe you're advocating for Jimmy Garoppolo this much.
Yeah, I am. Like Jimmy, he went to a Super Bowl, bro. He lost the Super Bowl to who? The Chiefs. It's fine.
Man, nah, I can't believe you're saying this right now. It's actually blowing my mind because I don't think Jimmy G is a good quarterback.
I think he's a starter. It's fine.
Interesting.
Like a bottom 8, but it's a starter.
All right. Basically, because we got extremely off topic right there. Matthew Stafford on the market, could be a Raider. I'm here for it. You're here for it. That's what it sounded like.
And the Rams are going to start Jimmy G. It'll be amazing.
We'll see. I mean, we'll have to see.
Look, I think I'm on the same vibe. You're saying Shanahan did wonders for Sam Darnold. I think Sean McVay did wonders for Jimmy G. See, in that system, I think Jimmy could cook. I feel like Shanahan has a very specific quarterback that he needs for his system, and I feel like McVay can adapt a little bit more.
You could be making a good point here. I'm not going to lie. You could be making a real good point.
Yeah, I just like Sean McVay more than I like Jimmy G. I feel like that got crossed a little bit. Jimmy G is a bad starting quarterback, but he's worth, a starting job, sure.
For a year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure. All right. I think we'll go ahead and hit a music break. 6:23, and we got a long segment up next. We have the NFL Combine. The NFL Combine started today, by the way. It started from 3 to 8 p.m. today. It's been D-line and linebackers today. There's been a lot of people that have been looking like they've been doing pretty good. We're going to go ahead and hit you with that information whenever we get back after this music break. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Battle Red Radio. I'm your host, Caden Jones, and we have a good segment lined up for you all. So as I was saying before the music break, the NFL Combine started today. And if you don't know what the NFL Combine is, it's where all the top prospects in the nation from college come together and they go under a bunch of tests, run their 40 times, vertical, shuttles, things of that nature. And the scouts, basically, that's where they get their athleticism and their abilities from, is from the Combine. That's where they get a lot of their attributes from. And so today is a big day, right? You get to spotlight a lot of guys. A lot of guys get to improve their draft stock from this day.
It's not just today. We got today is just the D-line and linebackers, like he said earlier. Friday, we got some D-backs and tight ends. Wide receivers go on Saturday with the quarterbacks and the running backs. So Saturday is really the juicy day. If you're interested in like the skill guys, that's the day to watch. That's why they got it there, because they know the most fans are interested in skill guys. It's from 1 to 9 p.m., so like that's an all-day affair. Throw some burgers on the barbecue. Put the Combine on. That's how you get your football fix in
put
February.
Some meat on the grill. Watch Jackson Dart, because he's going to be the only quarterback probably throwing that day, as Cam Ward and Shadur Sanders might not throw at the Combine. They might only participate in the interviews. And then something that I kind of wanted to lead this off with, because they are the big names kind of coming into this draft. They kind of overshadow, as quarterbacks usually do, right? They overshadow these guys. So you got great talent in this draft like Mason Graham, Abdul Carter, Shamar Stewart, Nick Scorton, James Pierce Jr., like we're going to talk about in a second, that are kind of still overshadowed by these quarterbacks. And it seems like the reason Cam Ward doesn't want to throw today or on Saturday at the Combine is because he has 5 years of film. He went to Incarnate Ward just down the street in Houston. Then he went to Washington State, and then finished his career at Miami. So
runner-up for the Heisman at Miami.
Yes. He had a good season. He has a lot of film, obviously, a lot of film.
I think I'm gonna kind of skip ahead a little bit. I think both him and Shadur should throw. Like, neither of these guys. The reason Caleb Williams didn't is because everybody knew Caleb was going 1. All right, there's like a difference between these guys and Caleb Williams, dude. I don't understand why these guys are not throwing at the Combine.
So yeah, and we were talking about that too, because the only thing I could find, these guys don't really ever come out and just say why they're not going to throw. Shadur did though, He did say that, but Cam Ward really hasn't. He just said, he just said that he wasn't going to do it. I kind of speculated it's because he already played so much. He has so much film. Maybe he wants to throw at his pro day with his receivers like Xavier Restrepo. I forgot they have another
Elijah
receiver.
Arroyo.
Yes. And he just wants to throw to guys that he's very familiar with. So maybe that's why he doesn't want to go there and like run a 40 time because that could break his stock, and then maybe miss these open deep balls or something like that. That's what I was assuming. But he didn't come out and say that. So
yeah, that's always a fear. But like, you know, to me, the dudes who don't want to do something at the combine, that is a statement in and of itself. Like if you don't want to run a 40, okay, that's cool. But I'm gonna mark that in the notes. Like, hey, this dude decided not to run his 40. If you decide to, you know, run a 40 but not do the field drills, like, okay, that's cool. That's some good information. But I'm going to mark that in the notes. You know, best believe this dude decided not to do the field drills at the combine with all the other guys.
The thing is, nowadays, like, a lot of these quarterbacks are told, like, they're advised not to run the 40. Like, a lot of the quarterbacks that have been coming in recently do not run 40s anymore. I know, like, J.J. McCarthy last year, KOC was talking about it because he was on the Rich Eisen broadcast during the combine. He was talking to KOC, and he asked KOC, like, who has the best 40 time in your QB room, including yourself? And he has the best QB time because none of those guys ran their 40s.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so, I mean, the 40 time is a bit
the 40
irrelevant for me.
It's irrelevant for quarterbacks, but the on the field drills are definitely not. Like, those are where you can see, you know, you can lock in on a guy's footwork. You can lock in on his throwing motion. You can lock in on his throwing speed. You can lock in on his anticipation. And when you decide not to do that, that is as much of a note as you deciding to do it and doing it well or doing it poorly. Like, that's just, it's a data point that the scouts are definitely taking into consideration.
Yeah, especially because I remember when I was watching the combine when I was younger, and you would watch a guy like Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes or something like that throw the deep ball at the combine. You're like, wow, this guy can throw it out of the building.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it is something that most people, I mean, I would agree with you. I would like them to throw at the combine. I feel like it'd be a good idea. But Shedeur Sanders came out on his podcast and basically said that he has a lot of things that he needs to work on. You know? Like,
I mean, at least he's honest and, you know, like able to assess his own problems.
Yeah.
That's a good thing for a quarterback.
Yeah, so specifically on his podcast, Sanders explained that he is on a strict training program focused on gaining weight and refining his mechanics before performing in front of scouts. So he'll eventually be performing at Colorado's Pro Day, and he'll be throwing to maybe Travis Hunter and Jimmy Horn Jr. and his other skill buddies.
Yeah, what a crazy statement. Like, to say, I need to refine my mechanics before I throw in front of scouts.
I thought it was crazy too.
Yeah,
I thought it was crazy too.
It sounds like a joke, bro. What do you mean? Why would you say that about yourself, bro?
But, I mean,
holy goodness. It does not, like, the thing is, that is what I think of Shedeur. Like, if he was ready to throw at the combine, then he would throw, but he's not, so he's going to wait. And I don't know why Cam Ward isn't, because to me, Cam Ward should throw too. Like, to me, that's, you know, the same kind of statement. He should throw, but he's not. That's lame. And maybe he needs to work on his mechanics too. See, but I don't know.
I mean, like, I can't help but to, like, understand where the guys are coming from, though. Like, if I had to put myself in that shoes, you know, like currently in the studio, right? Let's say somebody wanted to come and evaluate me on how I'm doing on on UHDI radio, right? And they were like, but we're going to give you a different co-host, right? You understand what I'm saying? Like, they're going to give me a different co-host. And I'm like, well, I don't know. Give me Kobe, right?
I mean, I guess, but, like, these guys don't get to decide who they play with in the NFL. They, you know, are getting paid millions of dollars to do this, and they're doing it at the highest level. This is a college radio station. Like, if you were doing
obviously
like,
a terrible. But.
There's a little bit of a difference. These guys should just do it, bro. Like, it's so lame. I you know, respect them for doing the interviews. There's going to be some good information there. I wish we got some more information out of those interviews, because I feel like we got a lot for, like, CJ and Bryce Young and Anthony Richardson. There was a lot of news coming out for that draft.
Well, I think a lot of that was Nick Caserio.
Yeah, probably.
Let's be honest, because, I mean, now that Nick Caserio kind of has him locked up, we don't hear any news come out of the Texans organization. Yeah. But pre-draft, we were hearing a lot. Man,
that's fun. Yeah, I always thought, like, that Nick was juicing it a little bit, but for it to all be Nick would be wild.
Oh no, I think it was all Nick.
Jesus Christ,
You don't think
man.
so? Like he came out today at the combine as well and said, somebody asked him like, "Hey, have you told Ian Rappaport about such and such?" He was like, "Oh, I do not talk to them."
Yeah, I also like I love watching Nick Casario interviews because he's a real interesting dude. Like, I don't even know if he's somebody I would like to hang out with, but he's somebody I would like to listen talk. You know. But
yeah, like at a conference or something.
Yeah. I feel like he's very knowledgeable, but I would not want to go and watch a football game with him.
Yeah,
he would talk my ear off the whole time.
He would just stare at you with those huge eyes. Yeah.
But I think that he might have juiced it a little bit, but to say that he did it all is, I mean, maybe.
I'm just speculating here.
Yeah, that's a. Anyways, I wish there was more coming out of this draft because we haven't heard like anything really. We've seen that like who they interviewed with, but that's it.
Yeah.
Kind of lame.
Kind of sus though.
Yeah, maybe there's not
a lot of
great interviews going on.
Maybe there's a lot of scheming, or maybe Jackson Dart is next up because, like, with these two quarterbacks not performing at the combine, your guy. I mean, if you've been listening to the show for the past 2 weeks, we know Kobe is a Jackson Dart homer. He hates Shadur. For some reason, he thinks. What do you think about Cam Ward? Right?
I think Cam Ward is good.
Nonchalant is what you said the other day.
I just think he needs to refine that a little bit. If he wants to be a really great quarterback, he should definitely be the first quarterback taken. And then I think Shadur is going to be the second one. And I think Jackson Dart is underrated by a lot of people.
Yeah, I think he is too. Like I was telling you the other day, like I feel like it is Cam Ward 1, Shadur 2nd, but the gap between Shadur and Jackson Dart is like there's a gap, but it's not that big of a gap.
Yeah, everybody thinks about it like 2 first-round guys and then like 4th-round guys, and after that,
what? No, they do not think of that.
Yeah,
what? No, I think Jackson Dart is maybe like a 2 or 3 guy.
Exactly, we think,
but he could get drafted in the first.
Yeah, for sure. Michael Penix got drafted 7.
Yeah, he was looked at as like a second-round guy.
There is going to be some. I'm telling you, it's going to happen. Anyways, another guy who's not at the combine, Abdul Carter. He's my number 1 prospect. This kid is so good. At defensive end out of Penn State. He was going through the medical test at the combine this week, and there was a stress reaction in his right foot, which is the early stages of a stress fracture. So he's decided to step away from all the skills or like all the skills testing at the combine. He just did the interviews, and then there was a lot of speculation: is he going to get an interview, or is he going to get a surgery, or is he just going to let it heal? Drew Rosenhaus, his agent, stated that he's not going to have a surgery, and he doesn't expect it to impact his draft position at all. He is going to skip the combine. He plans to do some stuff at the pro day. This one makes sense to me because he's hurt. Like, when you're hurt, you shouldn't do it at the combine, obviously.
Yeah, and I still feel like if there wasn't a QB-needy team up there at the number 1 pick, Abdul Carter's easily the number 1 guy. You can argue Mason Graham. You can argue... At this point, there's been a couple good guys that have had good combines so far that we'll talk about that could have been possibly there too. But for me and you, I mean, Travis Hunter could have been there for some people, like some teams. Abdul Carter is easily the number 1 prospect in my opinion, and in your opinion. He didn't really need to do the combine anyways.
Yeah, I hope he heals up though, because like a stress fracture was the same injury that Joel Embiid had in 2014 whenever he had to miss a whole season or 2 after he got drafted. And that's what started the whole process, right? So these stress fracture type injuries in the foot are never, like, it's not something to mess around with. But, hopefully he heals up, because if he stays healthy, that's dangerous. That's a dangerous dude right there.
Yeah, and also this wasn't, like, that scary of an injury for me. Like, you kind of said that, like, it's just like a precursor to another injury. Yeah. But what was also, like, I would feel like might be a little concerning to some scouts and GMs is that he was already thinking about not participating in the combine because he had a lingering shoulder injury. So he had that shoulder injury and then the foot injury. It's a little questionable, but he was very durable at Penn State.
Yeah, he played linebacker and then he switched down to the D-line. So he's shown he can do it at multiple positions and play pretty much every game. So I just hope he gets healthy.
Yeah, I hope he gets healthy. I think he's going to have a good career. We've pro-comped him as the Micah Parsons of this draft, but there has been a couple of those hybrid guys in this draft. So
yep.
But he's the one that seems like he can be even better, if that's possible. So, and And I also put on this list, I mean, we talked about it, notable players that didn't participate in the combine last season were Caleb Williams, first overall pick. You said, and I agree with you, that he didn't have to do the combine because he was unanimous number one. And then Marvin Harrison Jr. also didn't participate in the combine last season because he was the unanimous number one receiver. Like a lot of people were talking about he might be one of the greatest receiver prospects of all time.
Yeah, he was nicknamed Maserati Marv for a reason. Everybody, it was like whenever they would go to, like, let's say Jackson Smith and Jigba's pro day at Ohio State, they would get to see Jackson Smith and Jigba, and then on the sideline is the Maserati that they can't afford yet, right? That's why he got that nickname. And then he honestly kind of underperformed his rookie year, but I feel like there's a couple of, like, whenever later in the season him and Kyler got on the same page, they were in sync and it was working well, but it was not good at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he had like a 3-touchdown game towards the end of the season or something like that. I mean, he had a lot of expectations to live up to last season, so it's kind of unfortunate, but he'll bounce back. I don't think anybody's really doubting that.
Yeah, he's going to be a great receiver for a long time.
Yeah, I agree with you. So we'll finally move on to what's actually happening today and right now for another 15 minutes. The combine is going to go on for because it's Eastern time. So, I mean, there's one guy that didn't participate in too much. Did he participate at all, actually?
Nope. Mason Graham didn't.
Yeah, he didn't. It wasn't announced beforehand, so when I wrote these notes that he was still projected to go, but he ended up not participating, is Mason Graham, probably the star D-tackle of this
he's
draft.
locked up as the number one dude. And, like, this NGS score that you have pulled up here, NGS draft score, is a way to project what players' athletic ability will translate to without them actually doing the test yet. It's gathered from Next Gen Stats. That's where the NGS comes from. He is third all time for defensive tackles in projected NGS score. So that's impressive on its own.
Yeah, kind of third all time, only behind Aaron Donald and Quinnen Williams.
Both are studs.
And Ed Oliver is he's a stud too.
Yeah, Ed Oliver is a really solid pass rushing defensive tackle.
Yeah, more than solid.
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
So Mason Graham, that's the thing. I wish all these guys could participate because whenever you see the highest level athletes doing the best of their abilities, it is just fun to watch, dude. But Mason Graham couldn't this week. Hopefully he can at his pro day. That's going to be some juice.
I would assume that he would at his pro day. Did Walter Nolan as well?
Again, not a dude who participated today. A dude who was expected to dominate. Right, he's the third projected defensive tackle behind Mason Graham and then Kenneth Grant. All right, so Walter Nolan is a stud. He's very similar to Aaron Donald. He had 30 pressures this year at defensive tackle. He had 30 in his career at Texas A&M. So he's like a proven talent. It's not like a one-year fluke. He is a phenomenal pass rusher, dude.
Yeah, he's a real good pass rusher. A lot of people, when they talk about Walter Nolan, they talk about his size. And it's also interesting looking at Walter Nolan because he can always get bigger. I mean, he still has that baby face on him, right?
Yeah,
so he's going to be dominant.
He has a very young face, but also I feel like he hasn't built out that much yet.
Yeah.
Like there's still a lot of room for him to grow, muscle wise. And if he can do that on top of the speed he already has, dog, oh my goodness. That's a dangerous dude right there.
Yeah. And we were kind of disappointed with the two guys that I had ranked here or listed here already. Mason Graham not participating, Walter Nolan not participating. But here's a dude that shot out of the building today. And you were getting very excited on the way to the studio today. Shamar Stewart at the end out of Texas A&M. We talked about him last episode, actually. You stated that you thought he was going to be a bust.
I still think that. Even after looking at this, yeah.
Even interesting. So, let me give you a small rundown of who Shamar Stewart is. Obviously, A&M guy. Very athletic. He plays edge. Man, I don't even know. I want you to be able to tell us what happened today so viewers can know what he is.
So he played at Texas A&M at 290 pounds. He weighed in at the Senior Bowl, which happens at the end of the season as a way for all the seniors to come together and showcase their skills. He weighed in at 281. Today at the Combine, he weighed in at 267. So it's obvious he's going for very athletic numbers. at the combine. Maybe he's even trying to drop down to show he can just focus on an edge and not be a tweener, edge interior defensive line guy. All right.
Which is what I said about him.
Yeah, that was like a point that you made out. Is he a tweener, right? This absolutely sets him on the outside. And, oh my goodness. He had quite literally the best athletic day for a defensive end that has ever happened at the NFL Combine, dating back to 1987. There's a relative athletic score that is accumulated. It is a way to adjust like players' height and weight with their 40 times and their 10-yard shuttle and their 5-10-5 and all their vertical jumps and stuff like that. He scored the only perfect 10.
It is a scale that goes to 10.
Yeah, he's the only perfect 10 so far in the RAS recorded history, dating back to 1987. Ahead of guys like Myles Garrett, he had a 9.99. Trayvon Walker had a 9.99. Both of those guys went number 1 overall in their respective drafts. All right, so he had a 4.6 40, a 10-foot 11-inch broad jump. He had a 1.58 10-yard split in his 40, and the real elite number on 40s. So the 10-yard split is the burst for the first 10 yards. A real elite number is anything below 1.61. He had a 1.58 on the 10-yard split. I mean, it's literally like perfect numbers all around the board.
Yeah, so, I mean, I was going to ask you because I wasn't really hating on Shamar Stewart that much. Obviously, his production wasn't there at A&M, so that is the only baggage that you really have against him. Do you still believe that these numbers are anything? Or?
I said I still think he'll be a bust. He'll be a good defensive player in this league. I don't think he's going to be worth a first overall pick. I think Abdul Carter's going to be better. I feel like these numbers are very, very great for his draft stock. He's going to shoot up a lot of teams' draft boards because of this raw athletic score. Like, it's literally almost unfathomable to imagine how good of an athlete he is at 267 pounds.
Yeah.
And that's a key because he wasn't at that at A&M, and he was a little bit of that tweener. Now at 267, it's locking him at edge, and he gets to be that explosive athlete. Maybe that changes things a little bit for me, but I don't know. I still don't think he has that much of a pass rush prowess.
I was finna bring that up because we talked about that last episode, how he's a good athlete. That was basically our prospect spotlight. We had one on Shamar Stewart last episode. We were saying how good of an athlete he was, high motor guy, no pass rush skills at all. How many?
6 sacks in 4 years.
Yeah, 6 sacks in 4 years, averaged 1.5 sacks a season. Terrible.
Yeah.
There's no production there. He did play with stars alongside that defensive line, Shamar Turner, right?
Yep.
And then Nick Scorton as well. But, I mean, he has no pass rush. Hopefully, he gets paired with a guy, another veteran,
that can work those skills for him.
Exactly. And I feel like that would be beneficial to him, very beneficial.
Yeah.
He needs that. He actually needs it.
I'm not even saying that he's going to go to the Texans because this is obviously not going to happen. But if he had a J.J. Watt mentor type figure in the building who's not even on the team but who's in the building and helping him with – because that's why Will Anderson is so great now. Is because he had J.J. Watt his first season, and now he's got Daniil and J.J. Watt basically coaching him up as on-the-field mentors. So if he can have a dude like that, yeah, there's a lot of potential there. But if he gets drafted to a team where he's expected to be the number 1 pass rusher, I don't know, man.
Yeah, could it be something similar how Trayvon Walker was drafted to the Jaguars and there wasn't much production off the bat?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because Trayvon Walker now is a solid 10.5 sack a game or a year, very good run defender type of dude. But he was not that for the first 2 or 3 years of his career.
Yeah, he was also drafted ahead of Aiden Hutchinson, and everybody kind of questioned that pick.
Yeah, and a big part of that was his 9.99 relative athletic score.
No, that was the big thing that bumped him up because Aiden Hutchinson was the main guy that was thinking about getting drafted first overall out of Michigan, and it's just that Trayvon Walker combine really shot him up there. And I don't think that'll happen with Shamar Stewart here. I do not.
I'd be so surprised if he goes above Abdul Carter.
I think it would be so surprising if he goes above Mason Graham.
Yeah, probably.
You know what I mean?
I could see this relative athletic score bumping him up because I feel like a lot of people value edge more than interior line.
That could be very true. That could be very true. That's a good point. We're gonna have to move on because I knew we were gonna spend a lot of time on Shamar Stewart right there. But another A&M defensive end, Nick Scorton, that we were just kind of referring to, talking about Shamar Stewart. He was here too. I don't know. I didn't hear much about his day.
He didn't run the 40, which, like we were kind of saying earlier, sometimes it's not that relevant. Whenever you're a dude like Shamar Stewart, though, and you're going to have an explosive time like that, you might as well run it. But literally as we were walking up to the studio, I was watching the combine. He was doing his on-the-field drills, and he looked very, very fluid. All right, it was a drill where it was basically a shuttle back and forth, and then back pedal, run up, and then sprint out. A lot of dudes were slipping, or they were kind of trying to anticipate and not running. Scorton was one of the only dudes who was actually doing the drill right, and he looked very good. All right, it was only a couple drills that I saw. Again, he didn't run the 40 that I saw, but I mean, yeah, Nick Scorton, if I had to guess, he's been having a great combine while he's been on the show for an hour.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be a solid guy as well.
To me, he's a bit more of an interior than an edge player. Like, he's a perfect 3 to me.
That's exactly what I was going to say right there. He's a 3 technique. He could play that 5 if you really need him to, but I don't think that's his natural position. He's a little bit more stocky.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a guy, obviously, to look out for. And I just double-checked. He did not run the 40. And not a lot of guys ran the 40. I think there was only 40 people that ran the 40 today.
Yeah, there's the defensive line, and it just doesn't matter that much, the 40 times. Whenever we get to the DBs tomorrow and then the running backs and receivers on Friday or on Saturday, there's going to be a lot of guys running, and you're going to see some low times. I'm talking like 4 3s, 4 2s. There's going to be a lot of those this year.
Yeah, but don't be scared about that for a DB. I mean, Kamari Lassiter ran a 4.6, right?
Yeah, there's some times where the talent is just better than the athleticism, and you got to look past. Like, I was tripping for a minute whenever I saw we drafted Lassiter, and I was like, dog, that is a not very athletic corner. And he made me eat those words right up because he, in my opinion, was the best rookie corner. Obviously not to the AP, but that's why they get to vote and I don't, I guess.
Yeah. Here's another disappointing guy that I think could have had not a better combine because you can't really get better than a 10.0, but could have also had a really good combine was Mike Green out of Marshall. A lot of buzz was made about Mike Green. I didn't really hear much about him during the regular season because Marshall is a Go5 team. So, I mean, those players go a little bit quiet. However, real ball knowers kind of knew who he was. And at the Senior Bowl, he made a lot of news for himself, a lot of buzz around Mike Green. He didn't work out today at the combine because he had hamstring tightness.
Yep.
However, I could only imagine.
Yeah, his pro day, first off, it's a Marshall pro day. Why is anybody going to be there? All 32 teams might be there just for Mike Green. He is that good of a dude. He is uber athletic. He's got crazy bend. If you see him run the hoop around a tackle, he'll get 4 inches from the ground. He is so good, dude. And the thing is, we didn't, a lot of casuals don't know him. Like you were saying, because he went to Marshall, he was dominating at the Senior Bowl. He was whooping on SEC linemen, ACC linemen, Big 10, Big 12. He made all those Power 4 linemen look like chumps, dude.
Yeah, so even though Mike Green didn't participate in any of the drills today at the combine, he did go talk to the Buccaneers talked to him, and the Detroit Lions also talked to him. So maybe they're looking for a Mike Green guy, maybe into the first round type of guy.
I will say Shamar Stewart also met with the Panthers and the Browns. Browns have this number 2 overall pick.
That would be crazy. Oh man, that might be the perfect guy to try and replace Myles Garrett with. No, not even.
Yeah, Abdul Carter is the perfect guy.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
But the thing is, Myles Garrett also had that 9.99 relative athletic score. If that's what they're going for to get that mold of a player, maybe they want Shamar Stewart. I think that would be a reach over Abdul, but if they don't, then they don't, and he's their guy.
Yeah, Mike Green's a very physical guy. First team All-American, Sunbelt Player of the Year. I'm excited to see where he goes, actually. I think I'm going to be a fan of Mike Green wherever he goes. Next guy that we really wanted to – I know you are a big fan of him.
I love James Pierce, dude.
He loves James Pierce Jr., D-end out of Tennessee. He plays a little bit more of an edge. Has a lot of hype. Even before the college football season, had a lot of hype around him. He ran a 4.47 40 with a 1.56 10-yard split, and you said the 1.61 was kind of like the elite area.
Yeah, once you get sub 1.61 on your 10-yard split, that's when you're getting into like the very high level, not even just like athlete at combine scores, but like that transfers a lot to production in the NFL.
Yeah, and do you remember? I mean, this guy ran a 4.47. Shamar Stewart ran a 4.6, right? So
yeah, I'm trying to find his relative athletic score right now because running a 4.47 is very impressive. But the thing is, he didn't jump as high or as long as Shamar Stewart. That was a big fueler for Shamar Stewart's relative athletic score. But I mean, James Pierce is not just an athlete. Like Shamar Stewart is right now just an athlete. He's not a proven product as a pass rusher. James Pierce at Tennessee, multi-digit sack years. He had 8.5 sacks this past year, I believe. He has had some personality issues. Like he's got some anger issues. He's not the best worker. That's all coming out of the Tennessee stuff. It's not like stuff we've heard in interviews or whatever. But if James Pierce can get that locked up, he's like, in my opinion, the best skill-wise pass rusher. Like better than Abdul Carter. But Abdul Carter is more like surefire pick. That's why Abdul Carter is my number one prospect over Pierce, obviously.
yeah, I think James Pierce will still be a first-round option. Obviously,
Yeah, I would
he
be.
has the talent to be that.
Yeah, it just I could see him having like, because Nolan Smith is an example of this, where he was a freak athlete who was a proven edge rusher at Georgia, but he was like, there was some questions about him. He was a little light. He didn't really have edge size for sure, so he fell to the Eagles, and what do you know? He was very important in their Super Bowl win this year. So I could see James Pierce having that kind of fall where people are like just kind of unsure because of those emotional problems or personality problems or whatever. But he's a uber talented pass rusher, bro.
Yeah. We have two more left on my defensive line list, and one of them did not participate. All he did was get his height and weight, hand size, and arm length done. It was Mykel Williams. I was looking forward to seeing his combine results. I'm not going to lie, because he's one of those guys that kind of needs to up his draft stock. He's towards the bottom of the prospects list.
And the thing is, he is a very talented pass rusher, but he hasn't shown that athleticism. So a day like this where he could have popped off as an athlete would have helped him a lot. But it sucks that he couldn't. A dude who did pop off, though, Landon Jackson. He's not like very highly recruited. He's not a very highly touted prospect like every guy we just said above him. But he's a freak athlete. He jumped a 40.5 vertical. He ran a 4.62 or 4.67. It was just past Shamar Stewart's. So he had himself a pretty good day.
Yeah. All right. And with that being said, we are going to hit our hour mark break. Hope everybody's having a great listen to the show. I'm having a good time talking about these prospects. Combine is always a fun time of the year. It is 6:58 p.m. I think we'll be back in around 10 minutes. Hello. Welcome back to Battle Red Radio. Second hour of Battle Red Radio. I'm your host, Caden Jones. I'm here with Kobe Riendo. We just got done talking about the combine for the defensive linemen. Now we're going to talk about a little bit of the linebackers that also did it today. A lot of dudes in this linebacking my fault. A lot of guys in this linebacking group that are very, very good and very versatile. A lot of them are good at run and pass defense, which is a good thing to see, obviously. A lot of them have range. Some of them are looked at as hybrid, as like either edge and interior linebackers. So I'd like to talk about them. The first guy on my list I don't think participated today at all. It was Jalen Walker. However, he's the number one guy on most people's draft boards out of Georgia. He describes like his attributes describe exactly what I just said. He's a hybrid dude. He played a lot of inside at Georgia. He also played a lot of edge. He's a winner, obviously. Being as a Georgia Bulldog, you have that history with you.
And the best part about his game, in my opinion, is not just his he's a great linebacker. As a blitzing linebacker, that's a skill. It's not something that everybody can do. And because he's a great edge, he knows how to use his leverage and stuff like that against running backs in particular, who are, not always the best blockers. So if you send him on a delayed will or Mike blitz, you're gonna get some juice there for sure.
Yeah, I was watching some film breakdown of Jalen Walker earlier today, and the guys that I was listening to were saying that he can blitz on any down because no running backs can block him at all. And that's something that you need to look forward to because he can also bust through the gap on a mug blitz which is extremely important because that happens a lot nowadays, especially with that Brian Flores scheme being implemented more and more often.
Mug just like being up close to the offensive line and looking like you're going to blitz.
Exactly. Like whenever you see a linebacker come hover over the center or something like that. So,
yeah, he's he's not my favorite linebacker because he's not a traditional linebacker. I love dudes who are like, play 5 to 6 yards off the ball, read the line, drop back into pass coverage. That's not his game all the time. So he's not really my type of linebacker, but he is a very interesting prospect in my opinion.
Yeah, we talk a lot about Micah Parsons whenever we talk about Abdul Carter, right? But he kind of fits that mold a little bit more because he'll do both of the inside and the edge rushing in the same game, sometimes even on the same drive. You know what I'm saying? And we saw that a lot, even during the playoff push. I remember seeing that a lot. So if you want to think of a guy that's like Jalen Walker, kind of think of a Micah Parsons type of, like a Micah Parsons light. I don't think he's going to be as great.
Micah Parsons is definitely more of a finesse pass rusher too. Jalen Walker is very power driven. He when he does go speed, it's turning power into speed. It's not turning speed into power like Micah Parsons does.
Yeah. So unfortunately, he did not work out today at the combine. I would have loved to see what he would have ran because he looks like he has extreme game speed and agility. Like on the shuttle, it would have been crazy to see what his time would have been. But another guy that did Jahad Campbell also work out? I apologize
to he worked out today.
I apologize if we are looking it up at the currently because they are still working out as we are speaking. They're running their second 40 times right now. Yeah.
So this is some live breaking news for you. Jahad Campbell, he is more of a traditional linebacker in my opinion. He's very he's gonna stay off the line. He's gonna be more of a reader. The thing about him though is he is a freak athlete playing at that position because most of the time you expect those guys to be maybe a little bit slower, maybe more mentally with the game. They're like the quarterbacks of the defense basically. Well, Jahad Campbell is all that, and then he's a great athlete. Let's see, what did he run today?
Wait, hold on. Before you say this, because I put in our notes, I expected him to run a 4.4, have a crazy vertical because of his game film. What did he end up doing?
So he was just above a 4.4. He ran a 4.52.
Okay.
His 10-yard split was, again, that's third among all linebackers.
Okay.
His 10-yard split was third, tied second, I guess, with a 1.53. So the really elite time for linebackers is about 1.55, 1.54. So he's, just on that brink.
Yeah, I was going to say for D linemen and linebackers, a 40 is cute on your scouting report, right? It's really that 10-yard split.
Yeah.
How fast you can get downfield or get to the other hash mark. That 10-yard split is huge, and I think that's what GMs kind of look forward to even more when they're scouting these guys.
Yeah, another phenomenal statistic for him. Had a 10'7" broad jump. So he didn't do his vertical, but 10'7" broad jump is the second best among all the linebackers, only behind Smail Munden, who we'll talk about in a minute.
Okay. So obviously he's a great athlete. Another guy that I really was hoping to see at the combine, and I was telling you on the way up here, I was really hoping to see Carson Schwessinger out of UCLA. This guy is a walk-on who turned into an All-American this past season. Great linebacker. Might be my favorite linebacker in the draft, right? He's going to get drafted a little bit late. He might be a day 2 guy.
He is a little bit smaller. That is the only real thing that is keeping him from being one of those higher-end guys because he is about 6'2", and he played at around 220. So that's really light for a linebacker. However, at the combine, he weighed in at 240. That's a much better playing weight for a dude at his height. And if he can keep that, quickness, that burst he has downhill towards the line, that's going to be interesting. He first team All-American, 136 tackles, 8.5 tackles for loss. That's big numbers right there.
Yeah, I was going to tell you he had 1 billion tackles last season at such that small weight. So, yeah. And another reason I was kind of thinking about it while you were saying that, maybe he didn't run because he had just gained all that weight.
Yeah, he's still getting used to running at that weight.
Yeah, that might not be his game speed. However, I was watching his film. I kind of compare him to a defensive running back. He sees these run lanes like a running back. He knows where the blocks are going to set up at. He knows where the gaps are going to be. He punches them. Yeah. I mean, absolutely punches them.
And the thing about that is whenever you're that kind of linebacker, you can maybe afford to lose a step or two because you're already a step ahead mentally, right? So if you're able to read the lines and the holes and stuff like that, at the same pace or faster than a running back, you can get there faster without even being faster, because your mind is moving a step ahead. That is, I was a linebacker. That's how I got it done. I was a slow dude, but if your mind is moving fast, the game slows down.
Yeah. And it might just be an instinctual thing for him to be like that because this was his first season starting at off-ball linebacker. He only had 10 starts this season, and he was a Dick Butkus Award finalist, which is the linebacker MVP of college football. Insane stuff from this guy.
Yeah, that is there are sometimes, you have a real freak athlete and you got to train him to be a linebacker. This is a dude who is just, born to be a linebacker. And there are just dudes like that. Luke Kuechly was one of them. He wasn't like a super crazy athlete, but he was born to be a linebacker.
Yeah, I don't know if this guy is going to be insane in the NFL. He is going to be extremely serviceable, if anything. I think he has a high floor, maybe not the craziest high ceiling, and that could be due to his genetics. He's not the biggest guy in the world, right?
Yeah.
And he might not be the fastest. We didn't see him run today, obviously.
He did have a 39-inch vert.
That's good. That's good. And I was going to say that could also be because, you can see that in his game film. Because a lot of the things that we just mentioned were the fact that he could play run defense very well. He also has a lot of range over the middle of the field. You could not pass over him. Any in routes, nothing. It wasn't there. I would also like to see what his wingspan was because he was batting down a lot of balls that were thrown his way. Insane stuff from this guy. I wish he would have worked out today, and I would have had a better, analysis for y'all. But it's unfortunate.
39.5-inch vert, second for all linebackers.
I mean, this kid is insane. I'm excited to see where he goes. I really am. I would hope that, he would be a Texan. Obviously, unlikely. I would like for any of these good players to be a Texan, right?
Yeah, I feel like there's just a automatic mindset where you hear a great player, you talk about a great player, Texan.
But I'm mostly saying that because I would love to see him under DeMeco Ryans. DeMeco Ryans would coach the heck out of this guy.
Yeah.
So
the thing about DeMeco though is I feel like he could coach me up to be an NFL linebacker. he could coach a middle schooler up to be an NFL linebacker. So if he gets a dude with high potential, that's the more kind of linebacker I'm interested in for DeMeco. Just give him more of a project because right now we're good. We got Aziz, we got Henry, we got Christian. Yep. If we get a project who in 2 or 3 years is going to be the best linebacker because he's had 2 or 3 years under DeMeco Ryans, that's the kind of linebacker I want.
I don't know. A lot of people might have forgot what Christian Harris was pre-DeMeco Ryans, but he was not pretty at all. Couldn't tackle for anything. He was just a fast dude at linebacker. But now he's a solid guy. He's a headhunter.
Look, whenever he was healthy, he was the Derrick Henry stopper.
Yes.
And he was our quasi-Lamar Jackson stopper.
I was going to say that too, yeah. So, he was good, and that I'm sorry, Christian Harris, but I'm going to credit DeMeco Ryans.
Yeah,
for that.
Like Henry or Christian Harris definitely put in the work, but he doesn't get to where he is now without DeMeco Ryans being
100%,
as great as he is.
Next, we have Barrett Carter, who I know he did work out today. Or maybe he didn't.
I do not see him on the 40.
I do not see him at a 40, but I have him number 4 on my list of linebackers to look out for. Barrett Carter out of Clemson. Also another versatile linebacker with speed and agility. He excelled mostly in coverage against running backs and tight ends. First team All-ACC in 2024. I'm going to be honest, I do not know much about this guy. I was hoping he was going to work out today.
He did the vert. This is the thing, because he's probably on the field right now doing like other skills drills that aren't the 40 and because he didn't do the broad jump. He did the vertical, and that's it. I would love to see him work on the field with these combine drills, but it's just unavailable right now. He's just a name to look out for. He's had a very solid career. He hasn't ever been like one of the dudes in college football that was like, hey, this is the best linebacker in college football. One of these dudes that we're going to talk about next is. But Barrett Carter, he's had a very solid career at Clemson, and I feel like whatever team drafts him, he's like you were just saying, a very solid floor. I don't know how great his ceiling is. He's not a crazy athlete. To me, he doesn't even have that like super high intelligence stuff, but he's just a really instinctive football player.
Yeah. Another guy that did work out, and he's currently working out right now, is Chris Paul Jr. out of Ole Miss. This guy is a very smart, instinctive linebacker with strong coverage skills. He transferred from Arizona and earned first-team All-American honors in last season in 2024. He just ran his 40 at a 4.63 unofficial time, but they're usually pretty accurate, with a 10-yard split of a 1.62, 36-inch vertical, 9.9 broad jump. So I'm not going to lie, those are pretty underwhelming numbers.
Knowing Chris Paul, I know he's not a crazy athlete, but the reason he's so great in pass coverage is because he's phenomenal on getting to his spot and then keeping eyes on the quarterback and then keeping his head on a swivel. He'll gladly take a receiver's head off if it means, he's going to knock him out the route progression, and, that's one less read for the quarterback to have. He is not super great in the run game because he's not a super great athlete. He's not running downhill all the time. But in pass coverage, whenever he can get to his spot, it seems a little counterintuitive because he's not a great athlete. But a lot of pass coverage is technique. And whenever you're a good technical pass dropper and defender of the pass game like he is, those numbers don't surprise me. He's not my favorite prospect. The next linebacker we're going to talk about is. But Chris Paul's fine to me.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the next prospect because we were going to do a spotlight over him this week. I don't think we're going to be able to get to it. However, the next one that we have is Danny Stutzman, and he did work out today, and that's a big thing for all the linebackers. Danny Stutzman, if you had to think about who, the type of prototypical linebacker that you'd want to play for your college football or team, you're going to think of a guy like Danny Stutzman. He was nothing but Oklahoma Sooners. Anytime you watched an OU game, because they didn't really have that many stars on their team this season, it was all Danny Stutzman, right?
Yeah, and they were 2-6 or 2-8 this year. He was literally going 120% in every single one of those games. He had 4 games of over 10 tackles. He had 19 tackles against Missouri in a game that they lost, right? That is tragic. But he is a phenomenal athlete. He ran a 4.52 40, same as Jahad Campbell. And Jahad Campbell was the guy that everybody was expecting to be that freak athlete. So that's impressive for him.
Yeah, that was something that a lot of people didn't like. They didn't think he was such a crazy athlete, right? Like I said, a prototypical guy, not stupid fast, kind of good at everything a little bit, just not extreme, like an extreme athlete like some of these guys are nowadays.
Yeah.
Because he has great size.
Yeah.
He's very fluid. He jumps off of the field whenever he plays.
Yeah, whenever I was talking about other guys being instinctive before, this dude is the most instinctive player on the football field at all times. He plays like a safety at linebacker, and he's able to stop the run a very high-level inside linebacker. It's really fun to watch Danny Stutzman play for me because he is the perfect linebacker prototype in my opinion.
Yeah, so I'm going to read off of some of the notes I put for our spotlight. I said his downhill trigger is electric. When he's blitzing, he uses impressive burst and a devastating grit move to slice through gaps and wreak havoc in backfield. Wow, I don't know why this is so hard for me to read. And I also said he brings the thunder as a tackler when he squares up. And he also has coverage versatility, really pops on tape, fluid enough to handle man-on-man coverage on running backs and tight ends, and shows good awareness when dropping in zone, keeping his eyes on the quarterback.
Most important note that you didn't bring up, he's a special teams demon, all right? So that means even if he's not going to be a great linebacker, like I was saying, he's going to go 120 on every play. So he'll be a dude who will go back and block a punt or sprint downfield on kickoff and nail a dude at the 8. He's that type of energy player that honestly you don't see that much anymore in football to me. So yeah. I love Danny Stutzman, bro.
Yeah, how I wanted to talk about how we just talked about Danny Stutzman right there is how I wanted to talk about Carson Schwessinger, right?
Yeah.
But he obviously didn't work out. We have one more guy on my list that I know did work out as well and had one of the more impressive linebacker days. It was Smale Mondon Jr. out of Georgia.
Yeah, this dude is pretty much all athlete at linebacker. He's not super instinctive or super high football IQ like some of the other guys, but he is probably the best athlete at inside linebacker purely because, Jalen Walker, who is also went to Georgia, is kind of the, hybrid guy. Smale Mondon is right behind Danny Stutzman for me because of how freak of an athlete he is. He's flying around the field, and he's a hard hitter. So if you catch him in a hole and he's running downhill, it's going to be an explosion. He might not make the tackle, but it'll be an explosion.
Yeah. Smale London Jr. ran a 4.58 and with a 1.52 split, so that's a pretty good time for him as a linebacker. He also had a 10.10 broad jump, and then he either chose not to do the vertical jump or it hasn't happened yet.
Chose not to do it.
So good day for Smale London Jr. I could see some scouts really enjoying what he put on today.
Yeah, I really wish I could see his on the field stuff, but those numbers are very enticing to me for Smale London.
Yeah, I agree. And with that being said, we have one more segment that we're going to do after this, but I want to hit a music break before we get there. I hope everybody's enjoying. There is no more combine talk, so if you weren't enjoying that, we will get to NFL rumors right after this music break here on Battle Red Radio. Welcome back, everybody, to Battle Red Radio. I'm your host, Caden Jones. I'm here with Kobe Riendo. We are here for the last 30 minutes of the show. We're going to move away because we were just talking about the NFL Combine for what seems like an hour and a half, right? I enjoyed it. I like talking about the Combine, and I know you do too. But we're going to talk about some NFL rumors. It's that time of the offseason.
Yeah, there's nothing real, going on besides the Combine. We just spent all we could on that, so let's make up some rumors.
Yeah, let's make up some rumors, and let's have a little bit of fun. It's going to be kind of like our hot take segment, except the hot take segment today is going to get a little spicy. Okay. I'm excited for that. If we get to it, I hope we get to it. The first thing I have, it's going to be called the most daring moves that can happen this offseason.
Okay.
And I made sure to include the Texans in the first one that we're going to talk about here. So we all watched last season. There was sometimes we were looking at C.J. Stroud. We were looking also at Xavier Hutchinson and John Mechie. And we were like, wow, these guys, kind of like biting our cheeks a little bit. Houston Texans should trade for Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson was extremely unhappy with Aaron Rodgers and the Jets last season. He has had 3 straight 1,000-yard seasons, and it's even more impressive knowing that it was with New York Jets quarterbacks. In 2021, Wilson had 70 catches for 1,000 yards and 12 touchdowns with C.J. Stroud as his Ohio State quarterback. And with Stephon Diggs being a free agent this season, this makes a whole lot of sense. Trade the 25th pick and a day 2 pick. Let's get Garrett Wilson on the team.
I'm a super big fan of this. I love Garrett Wilson. I think he is honestly underrated by most people. Because he's been with the Jets, he hasn't really been able to explode like a dude, let's say Justin Jefferson, for example. But to get 1,000 each year of his career with the Jets is impressive, no matter what. And then we also have to consider the fact that Tank Dell, his knee injury was one of the craziest knee injuries that is possible for a human to have. Cecil Shorts had the same knee injury. He was a little bit old. He was 28 whenever he had it, but it was the same knee injury. He dislocated his knee, and then he tore everything. ACL, MCL, PCL, LCL, meniscus. He wasn't cleared to play for 4 years.
Yeah, that's insane.
So I don't hope that's going to, obviously, I hope that's not going to happen for Tank, and I don't even think it will. I feel like his was a little bit better. It wasn't a complete tear of everything. But there's a chance he doesn't play at all next year. So if that's a real chance, we need to prepare for that with getting a dude like Garrett Wilson. Big fan of that.
And not only is Garrett Wilson a really good wide receiver in the NFL, who doesn't love reuniting college buddies, right? Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow. That is a great duo in the NFL. They were both up for OPOY candidates this past season. I feel like ever since C.J. Stroud has been in the league, he has been rumored to be with one of his Ohio State buddies, whether it's Emeka Egbuka in this draft right here, whether it was, who was last season? I'm blanking. Marvin Harrison Jr. last season.
We got Cade Stover anyway. So
Yeah. I mean, he has been rumored to get these guys for a very long time.
Yeah, something CJ definitely values in his receivers is that relationship and knowing, when they're going to break off a certain route. So I know when to anticipate him to be in that area. And he has that with Garrett Wilson. Obviously, they played together for 3 or 4 years at Ohio State, and then they were very productive in those years. So I'm very hopeful that this can happen. I don't know what it would take, though. Would it take the 25th pick and then a day 2 for next year? I don't know if I would want to trade that much, to be honest.
So what would you trade? I agree with you. What if it was only the 25th pick, or maybe?
I don't want to trade a first for Garrett Wilson.
So what if we pick swap what if we trade a 2 and then they give us back a 5th?
That's fine with me.
I know. Now that I'm really thinking about it, I'm blanking on trades that have happened recently. Like, what happened for the A.J. Brown trade? Was it a first round?
Yeah, it was a first round pick, and so yeah, the Titans got the Eagles first round pick that they were at, and they picked Treylon Burks, and then they got a later pick, and then the Titans sent over A.J. Brown.
Yeah, and they also, I think that was the draft that they had 3 first round picks in.
Yeah,
so
A.J. Brown he was regarded higher than Garrett Wilson is now.
And we all know Nick Caserio is not afraid to trade that first round pick away, and he's also not afraid to, have more picks in the first round if he really enjoys what he's saying. I'm hoping this pick gets done. It would be electric, to say the least, in Houston. I think Garrett Wilson with C.J. Stroud would do a whole lot of numbers, and he would complement Nico Collins very well.
I was just gonna say one dude we haven't talked about at all who would love this is Nico Collins, because Nico is like such a, not opposite, but like they do very distinct things with their game, and they complement each other really well, right? Like Nico is that kind of go and get it deep ball kind of guy, but he's also a really yak kind of base dude.
Yeah,
he's great on screens. He can break tackles. He can catch through defenders. Garrett Wilson is like all separation, bro. He's gonna run perfect routes, and then he's gonna break, and he's gonna get like 8 yards of separation almost every route.
Yeah, a lot of the Garrett Wilson routes are inside routes, like in breaking routes, and I really enjoy that because the only thing that I see that Nico Collins does that is like that is kind of those deep posts, and obviously you mentioned the screens. So
yeah, I think like that's a great compliment for Nico. Nico would probably still be the wide receiver 1 in my opinion.
Oh yeah,
but not Garrett Wilson as a high level wide receiver 2, kind of like a T. Higgins situation. That's beautiful right there. And that's how you get a high-level passing offense in this day and age. Like, we just saw it last year. You can have a great quarterback, and you can have a great receiver, and they're going to be bad. You need more options than just one dude.
Exactly. And we also have, Nick Caley coming to Houston. I feel like if you give him 2 options like that, like how he had Cooper Kupp and Puka, you give him Nico and Garrett Wilson, who I arguably think would be a better duo than Cooper and Puka.
Yeah.
I mean, the sky's the limit. And we might have that top 5 offense that you were debating that we wouldn't have.
No, I think we still finished 6.
Okay, you're insane. So I want to move on to the next one. I have 3 on this list. It's going to be the Detroit Lions should trade for Myles Garrett. And you actually brought this up whenever the Myles Garrett thing came out. And I said if that might have been an overreaction. I don't think that was realistic, but I kind of want to, entertain it a little bit. So if Garrett wants to force his way out of Cleveland, which is kind of debated right now, they might just end up keeping him and living with the consequences. The Lions should be first in line to make the trade offer. We watched the Lions last year. They had high hopes. However, you love to mention that they could have been a great team, but their defense was lackluster because of those injuries.
Yeah, they had like 30 dudes injured at one point in the season. That is like ridiculous on any level. That's unsustainable for any team. And it just so happened to happen to the Lions, which is like, of course it's going to happen to the Lions, But yeah, I would love this for the Lions. I still think the Bills should call them first. Like, the Bills need to get a phenomenal pass rusher if they want to beat Patrick Mahomes. Myles Garrett is that. But the Lions pairing up Aiden Hutchinson with Myles Garrett would be
cinema.
Yeah, there would be a lot of wreckage going on in Detroit. Because, like, I feel it doesn't matter if you have bad or, like, even average to below average secondary play. Whenever you have 2 pass rushers like that who can destroy the game and destroy a game plan for an offense, it makes those 30 injuries easier to deal with as long as it's not to those 2 guys.
100%. And I also feel like the Lions are a team that need to kind of be spending those high draft picks. Like, for a organization that didn't make the playoffs for that those decades, right, up until a couple years ago, I mean, there is no other team that kind of needs to win a Super Bowl more than the Detroit Lions. You know what I'm saying? So
Especially for their fans, man.
that's what
Oh
I'm
my
saying.
goodness.
Like, they should be willing to spend these high draft picks. They draft pretty well recently too.
Yeah,
So-
that's the only reason I wouldn't want them to spend a first rounder on Myles Garrett is because, like, who's to say they can't spend a first rounder on a dude who is not Myles Garrett but is still very productive for their team and doesn't cost as much as Myles Garrett, so they're able to build other pieces as well. Like, that's something to consider because whenever you have rookies, man, they're just on a cheaper contract and you're able to spend more around them. So,
And you know what would be unfortunate is if the coordinators that the Lions have brought in this past season, I think both of them were actually just promoted. They
Yeah.
didn't bring them in.
yeah.
So it would be unfortunate if they really declined after the exits of.
Yeah, that's the only issue that you have whenever you have a head coach like Dan Campbell who's not really guiding one of the offensive or defensive sides of the ball. He's more of a culture and like that kind of head coach. Players first.
CEO guy.
Yeah, he's a CEO guy, right? And you have a dude like Andy Reid who's a complete offensive guru head coach or Sean McVay or whatever. It is a lot more reliant on great coordinators. And especially in the modern NFL, those great coordinators get poached. So
Oh, they get poached like crazy because Ben Johnson, who is was a great offensive coordinator, now head coach of the Chicago Bears, projected to have a great season with former number 1 overall pick Caleb Williams.
yeah. And I don't know if you've seen his little press tour he's been on at the Combine.
I have seen it.
Buddy, he's been talking mess about Jared
He's
Goff.
been talking crazy, and they're in the same division.
I cannot wait for that game. Buddy.
Twice a year, Detroit Lions, Chicago Bears. Mark it on your calendars.
That
It's
needs
going
to
to be good
That needs
games.
to be a Thanksgiving game this year.
It will be.
Yeah.
I'll put money on it.
Yeah, I would bet on it. Because, like, the Lions always have one. Why not make it
Yeah.
against the Bears this year?
Well, I thought the Bears always have one too.
Nah, it's the Lions and the Cowboys that always have one.
Okay. No, I mean, I bet money that it's going to happen. I don't see why it wouldn't happen.
Yeah, there's a lot of storylines there, and the NFL loves that, man.
Yes, they do. I don't know. I think this would be an interesting trade. This might be. I think this is something that the Lions need. If I'm being honest with you, after Aaron Glenn leaving, they need this. 100%. We're gonna move on to the next one. We started the show off talking about Starbucks. Now we're gonna move on to kind of talking about the same thing. It's gonna be Matthew Stafford minus Tom Brady. Los Angeles Rams should trade Matthew Stafford and sign Sam Darnold. And maybe they could trade Matthew Stafford to the Giants, to the Raiders. I didn't really get into specifics here, but we can talk about that as well. But do you think the Rams should sign Sam Darnold and get rid of Matthew Stafford? Maybe give somebody to really give the rock to Puka, and could Sam Darnold be that guy?
Look, so we just got to completely disregard Jimmy Garoppolo from this conversation because we've already talked about him. The Rams are comfortable with Jimmy G. So we just got to kind of get out the picture. He's not there. Should they do this? It depends on what Sam Darnold wants to sign for. Because, like, let's say they want to do this to kickstart a rebuild and save some money and, get pieces in other places. If Matthew Stafford is a $50 million a year salary and Sam Darnold ends up signing for 40, like, you're not really making a big difference there. And you're actually getting worse at the quarterback position.
Yeah, you are getting worse at the quarterback position. And I would kind of relate this to the position that the Rams were in whenever they had Jared Goff. And Jared Goff was looked at as like a mid-tier quarterback when he was with the Rams a little bit.
Yeah,
And
if anything, he was underrated. Like, he was
yeah.
about as good as he is right now, but the team around him wasn't as great, so he looked a lot worse. Like, nothing about him has changed. The situation around him has got better.
Yeah, but would Sam Darnold kind of be equated to that Jared Goff era of Los Angeles Rams? I believe so. Let me go ahead and give you all some stats about what Matthew Stafford is and why he's regarded as such a prolific target this offseason. So he was ranked sixth in QBR 2 years ago, and then he was ranked 12th in QBR last season. However, he's 37 years old and has a cap hit of $50 million in 2025. And it's also always better to move on from a player a year too early than a year too late. So that's why these rumors are kind of spreading out right now. And Matthew Stafford was also told that he can look for teams that want to trade for him.
Yeah, Matthew Stafford is probably, in my opinion, a top 10 quarterback. So whatever team he trades or he gets traded to, they're going to be in a position to, like, win now. That's why I don't know if it's, like, the best position for the Raiders because the Raiders kind of stink everywhere. But if they think they're in a win now mode, then they should trade for Matthew Stafford because Matthew Stafford's a win now quarterback.
Yeah. I mean, we'll find out after June 1st because that's when these can really go down to not take the cap hit for 2 years. So after June 1st, we'll really figure this out.
Like, oh, man. I was going to say something, but I lost it. So there you go.
It's all good.
Moving on.
It's just, it's very difficult. Very, very difficult. I don't think they should do that.
Yeah, I would.
But
this is the only one that I would say no. Like, they should. I remember what I was going to say. How many people thought the Rams were going to be, like, great this past season, going into the season?
Not really anybody. That's why I hear a conversation saying that they should not get rid of Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, they should. Like, if they want to be a productive team now and build for the future, draft Jackson Dart.
Okay.
I said it. There we go.
Okay.
I got to bring it up once a shot.
I don't think they should draft Jackson Dart.
No, they probably should. But, like, that's a smart thing. We saw the Packers do it with Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love. That's fire, too. Like,
like Quinn Ewers?
Not really. But, like, I'm just saying, if they should draft a quarterback and then let him sit behind Matthew Stafford, let him show that young buck how to be a great NFL quarterback, and then move on.
You know who gives me good vibes right now when I think about the Los Angeles Rams maybe drafting somebody in this draft?
I have a name.
Curtis Rourke?
Oh, Jalen Milroe. I think that would be fun.
That'd be funny. That'd be fun and funny and interesting.
Yeah, Sean McVay could cook us some crazy stuff for Jalen Milroe, and Jalen Milroe would probably not be able to do any of it. Love that.
Probably not. But it'd make up for some interesting packages for sure. I think it would be interesting.
Yeah, imagine if they had Justin Fields. Now imagine if Justin Fields was
man, that's a whole different conversation right there.
Yeah, Justin Fields with the Rams would be another man. They could trade Stafford and then go get Justin Fields. How about that now?
Yeah. All right. It is 7:48 p.m. We have 12 more minutes until we are actually kicked off of the stream. So we're going to hit our favorite segment here. We're going to hit the hot take segment. I'm going to tell a hot take. Well, if you've never been here before, I should probably explain it. So I'm going to tell Kobe one of the hot takes I have, either about this season or about sports in general. It doesn't matter the specific sport. He's going to tell me if I'm overreacting, if I have a good point, or if I have a steaming hot take. He's going to give me a rebuttal, or he's going to agree with me. It's always a fun, interesting little debate that we have. And this one we actually mentioned on the last show, and you called me crazy for it. I think Andrew Luck is more deserving of being in the Hall of Fame than Eli Manning is.
I feel like since we've talked about that, I decided to look into some numbers for this because I feel like you were crazy before. And Pro Football Reference, I think, backs me up as well. So why do you believe Andrew Luck should be? Because like I'm literally just gonna go based completely off statistics because statistics are very predictive for making the Hall of Fame or not.
Yeah, but I feel like the eye test is also very predictive as well, and Andrew Luck has the eye test. So I'm gonna tell you why I think Andrew Luck. I think Andrew Luck only played 6 seasons in the NFL. I think it was from 2012 to 2018, while Eli Manning played 14 and has two Super Bowls, and I think 2 Super Bowl MVPs, right? However, those Super Bowl MVPs, those Super Bowl runs, oh my goodness, I do not. I sound like an Eli Manning hater.
You do, because
100%.
Like, how is a Super Bowl run and then a Super Bowl win against the GOAT fraudulent? Don't even say it.
Because I don't think it's fraudulent. I just think Eli Manning was never like a top 10 quarterback. He was always like a fringe top 15 guy, while Andrew Luck was a guaranteed top 10 starter in the NFL every season that he was in it, maybe even top 5. Like, he was always there. He was always one of the guys making the great decisions, great moves, putting his body on the line. And maybe I'm just saying that Andrew Luck was a better quarterback than Eli Manning, which is a different question. And that's what I'm starting to think I was trying to say.
Yeah, that's that, because I actually agree with you. I feel like, is Andrew Luck better than Eli Manning? Absolutely. Is Eli Manning more deserving of going to the Hall of Fame? Yeah, because he did it for longer. He won the bowls. He won the Super Bowl MVPs. And honestly, like, as much as I love Andrew Luck, a lot of the Hall of Fame is a longevity game. Like, it just is.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate.
If you have those big numbers, those big, like, career-long statistics, then you have a better chance of making the Hall of Fame.
Isn't it crazy that Andrew Luck was only active for like 6 years though?
I actually got to pull it out. He was active for 5 years. And one of those, he
was
play.
injured.
Yeah.
Which is insane. Because I feel like his impact was like that's barely even over a rookie contract. It's crazy.
Very,
It's
very
crazy.
upsetting because, like, he is the biggest, in my opinion, what if story. Like, everybody talks about Bo Jackson
Or
what
RG3.
If, like, what if they didn't? No, it's Andrew Luck, dude. Andrew Luck is the biggest what if because he was coming into the draft expected to be like a generational dude, and he came in and he was better than everybody thought he was going to be. And man, he could have been LeBron of football.
That's a hot take.
That's what LeBron did. He was coming in expected to be generational, and he beat all the expectations.
All right.
And that's just what Andrew Luck did. That's the only way I meant to compare the two.
Go ahead and hit me with your take here.
I think the Giants are going to trade up for the number 1 pick with the Titans.
And draft who?
Cam Ward. I feel like they are gonna eventually get not have they're gonna see Shedeur and they're gonna be unpleased if they have to draft Shedeur, so they're gonna trade up and draft Cam Ward.
So tell me if I'm wrong here, but this just comes down to you being a Shedeur hater once again.
No, this comes down to me believing that the Giants want to make a move now and want to win now, and the Titans don't think they're good enough to win now, so they want to get draft capital, to support their rebuild. That's what I really think it is. I just also supported by the fact that I think Shadeur's a bum.
Wow. So I'm gonna say this is not gonna happen. I don't think it's gonna happen at all.
You don't think the Titans trade out?
Okay. There is a big chance that the Titans trade out, and I think they would trade out to a team that's like the Raiders. I don't think they would trade out. The only reason I don't think it's not more the Titans. I don't think the Giants trade up to the 1 spot. I think whatever falls in their lap, and they're going to take it. And they're going to wait until that post-June, and they're going to see who's in the market. Maybe they can still get Matthew Stafford if he's not a Raider already. Maybe they're going to get Sam Darnold. Maybe they're going to rot it out with Drew Lock, right? I don't think this is going to happen.
I would. Oh man, I want to say I would make a bet, but I don't want to say that live and then have to pay out later. But I'm extremely confident.
We could do a round of golf on it.
No, I'm extremely confident this will happen, but I don't want to make a bet. If the Titans trade to anybody, it'll be the Giants. If they don't trade out to the Giants, then they'll just stick and pick Cam Ward.
So what makes you think the Raiders wouldn't do this?
I feel like the Raiders don't have enough capital that the Titans would want,
and the Giants do.
Yeah, because the 6th pick is just less valuable than the 3rd pick. Like, if you're drafting at 6, you're not going to get Abdul Carter. You're probably not going to get Shamar Stewart. You're probably not going to get any the best dudes.
Mason Graham.
You're probably not going to get Mason Graham, right? So if you're drafting at 3, you still get your pick of the crop while getting extra draft capital. Like the 6th pick and the 3rd pick, it doesn't seem like it's a big difference. There's a big difference there.
See, I think this is interesting because I think I really do have good faith, and I think it'd be smart for the Titans to trade down. I don't think the Giants would trade up. I feel like the 3 spot is decent enough. Because they could still get Travis Hunter there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Just like we all thought the Texans were fine, and then they traded up to get Will.
We've never seen anything like that though.
Exactly. And we've never seen any we definitely have, but this is another big trade that could happen that would not surprise me at all.
Interesting. All right, well, I think that wraps it up for Battle Red Radio. Give me 1 second. Hope everybody had a great show. I had a good time talking about the Combine today. I hope everybody enjoyed learning about some new prospects that they didn't consider beforehand. Overall, thank you for joining us for the new episode of Battle Red Radio. We hope everyone had fun listening and enjoyed hearing us talking about the latest buzz in the sports world. I look forward to seeing you all of you guys next Tuesday. Wow, geez. I look forward to seeing you all next Tuesday from 6 to 8 p.m. Make sure to follow us at UHD Radio on Instagram for updates. We hope everyone has a great night.